Welcome to the Casual Nerdcast. I am your host, Justin. Joining us for this evening, Andrew.
Wonder Woman got pants today. Wonder
Really?
Woman's wearing pants. It's pretty exciting.
And Evan.
Superman lost a cape.
Yeah.
This is weird, crazy shit's happening.
And Batman's a hat, like a robot thing. We have
didn't
no
see
idea what's
that.
going on.
When did all this happen?
In the past week.
Wow.
Like today. Today they're like, yo, okay, Wonder Woman's got a shirt and pants. So she has a functional outfit. And Superman wears jeans
Wears jeans?
and no cape. And has a buzz cut. It's an interesting day in DC.
It is a very interesting day. Okay, so let's jump into our topic. I'll be basically playing Papers, Please because it came from it was one of the games that was initially released through Steam Greenlight, and that's basically what we're talking about. Recently, what I read on an article, I was actually kind of shocked when I heard about this, is that Valve has plans to basically shut down Steam Greenlight.
Yay!
So, for those of you who don't know, Steam Greenlight is basically you basically vote on a game, whether or not you're interested in it or not interested in it, and then if it gains enough interest, the idea is that it'll get released into the Steam library and sold through Steam. It was one of the ways for, I guess, indie developers to kind of move into the Steam platform, but as a result of, I guess, a lot of mixed results from Steam Greenlight. So, what are your thoughts on Steam Greenlight, guys?
I actually don't know much about it, mostly because I'm kind of like in a mindset that I don't want to pay for something until it's like released.
Mm-hmm.
So Greenlight is one of the things that I'm not.
You
like, I
don't really.
want
Do you
to.
pay for Greenlight games before they're
That's the
released?
thing.
You can vote on them.
I have no idea.
I from what I understand, it's just if you're whether or not you're interested in the concept that they're presenting to you. There's
You just vote on it.
yeah, you just vote on it.
Just vote on it.
Yeah.
Come find me when you got a game.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I don't really like it just because I'm not we all know my opinion on early access games and stuff like that. I've stated it a dozen times on this podcast. And Greenlight and Kickstarter kind of kickstarted the whole push for early access games. And ever since Greenlight has existed, there's just been a lot of games have started coming out. A lot. But a lot of them are shit. Because, let's be honest, in 2015, it's very easy to get a game out there, right? Like, I'm not necessarily talking about programming the game, designing a game. I'm saying, like, you have a game, it's pretty easy to hit the market with it. There's tons of online resources that everybody uses. Reddit is a big thing. Like, it's not hard to get your game out there. So I feel like Steam Greenlight is just kind of another tool that subpar developers are using to flood the market. I definitely think that there has to be some sort of difficulty in releasing a game, because if it is literally as easy as clicking a button and then getting your game out there, then
It becomes the iPhone store.
Well,
Yeah,
not quite the iPhone store, because I know the iPhone actually has like an actual process. You have to wait. They have to validate your app and everything.
it's still like it becomes a clusterfuck.
Not
Yeah.
really. How do you have any idea how many like just straight up Mario games like are on the iPhone store? They, like-
Actually,
Yeah, there's like you hear in the news. Not. I remember just hearing like, oh yeah, there's like a Doodle Jump, except it uses the Legend of Zelda from Wind Waker, and like that's getting taken down. But it got up there in the first place, which shouldn't have happened. Apparently the QA at like the App Store is like a monkey with a button that says yes and a button that says no.
Yeah. It's there has to be some sort of difficulty in releasing a game, or else yeah, I don't know. You're just going to get a flooded market. And I think that's what we almost have at this point. I mean, yes, there's probably a lot of good stuff that has come from Steam Greenlight as well, but I think that good stuff could definitely have made it on its own regardless of Steam Greenlight being a thing.
Yeah, it's tricky because like a lot of it's kind of hard to say. I think Steam Greenlight would have been nice for like maybe not as a direct route into the Steam library, but maybe for a way to people gauge ideas, because it's sometimes it's kind of hard. I mean, I don't know how would you go about doing it on Reddit, because I don't know how strict they are with, like, say for instance, like advertisement of your own kind of property, because generally speaking, when I've seen specific subreddits, they have some really strict rules that they don't allow things.
I don't know. I was just like spitballing, but like
yeah.
The bigger thing is that, I mean, like, it's pretty easy to get games on these online services. Like, it's as easy as sending an email at this point, right? I mean, that's also simplifying it a lot, I think.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I can kind of see the point of it being, say for instance, just developing the game and having it being well designed it kind of speaks for itself, and then all you really need is like word of mouth to kind of spread it around. But I don't know, but Steam, because Steam Greenlight it's kind of like getting your foot into the door, just kind of having it there to basically have people thinking about it, and it's just like, oh, okay. Though I do feel like the bigger issue is it's not integrated well enough. I find that there are games that I've probably approved. It doesn't really remind me, or I don't know of any games that I've approved. I don't know what the status is. Or yeah.
Yeah, but like I wouldn't even say that's not implemented well. I would say that it's just like the premise of it is like isn't a good idea in the first place, to be honest. I don't want from like the idea of Greenlight is like we have this idea for a game, help us to get it onto the Steam store, like, and with votes, but I don't know if that makes sense in like in a business perspective, especially like with something as complicated as video games. Like sometimes companies will be like, vote on a T-shirt design and then we'll make it, and it's like, all right, but I know what that T-shirt design is going to be. Like I know 100% this is the T-shirt. Like there's so many games that don't deliver on what is promised, and like it's just so much more complicated that voting something doesn't necessarily. Voting, like, someone being up there, like, please vote for me, doesn't necessarily mean, like, that's the product you're going to get. So I would much rather them, like Evan said, have, like, a more difficult curve, or have people that are professionally, like, quality assurance people, like, this is a good game, this is worth having on our store, this is broken, and you need to fix it and come back later.
And I feel like there's already a lot of services like this, like Kickstarter, for example. Kickstarter is a way better version of this. Yes, I know Kickstarter has its fair share of problems. But the idea that you have a game, you have to prove, to get on Kickstarter, you pretty much have to prove that you have something, right? Like your video has to be something. It can't just be like, yeah, we want to, if Kickstarter was what Steam Greenlight was, where it's like, we want to make this cool thing, nobody would fund anything, right? And the thing about Kickstarter as well is that the entire point about it is, I see your game. I think you guys can build this. Now I'm going to give you money that's actually going to help you, and then you can use that to get on Steam, to get somewhere, right? While Steam Greenlight, it's just, it's a weird system of like Facebook likes.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that,
right?
Yeah.
Or it's like, yeah, likes to cure cancer or something. It doesn't work like that. Like, what actually solves problems in the video game industry is money and hard work, right? Like that will solve the problem, not getting a bunch of likes, right?
Yeah, because it does turn into, you know, actually I've seen a combination of both, where somebody will have their game on like Kickstarter and basically be like, here, fund our beta or whatever, and then they'll be like, oh, also remember, if you want us to be on Steam, up us on Greenlight. So now that actually, and that provides an interesting question for me: is how can you actually get your game on Steam without Steam Greenlight? Then are you guys familiar with the process? I'm not 100% sure actually.
To Google. How to get my game on Steam? How can I get my game on Steam? Steam support. Well, I mean, the thing is, so I recently went through the whole process of releasing releasing an app, sorry, on the Google Play Store, right? And it was very easy, but it also, I really, really don't like the idea. I feel like the system would almost be better if there was no likes, like you could just release onto the Steam store. Because the problem is that like this has been Apple's what Apple has done since day one. They go by the idea that the customer doesn't know what they want, right? And that we know what the customer wants. And I feel like Steam Greenlight is putting a little bit too much on the customer, because there's probably a lot of cool games that are just slipping through the cracks because they don't sound cool, right? But they are really cool, and I feel like a lot of the games that we're getting, like, I don't know if you've noticed, there's been a huge influx of like really bad couch co-op dungeon crawlers, right? That have just flooded Steam, and they're all really bad because those games sound amazing on paper, right? They sound super cool when you read about it and go, yeah, I do want to play that, but they always end up being way harder to make than people think, and then it just fails, and that's why we have like a million copies of Legend of Dungeon and all those kind of games.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right? Not like Legend of Dungeon's fine if you enjoy that game. It's not a problem. I'm just using that as an example of a huge influx of just couch co-op dungeon crawlers, and that was kind of, from what I understand, to be one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess it's just probably just need to find a way to kind of get more research on what the market needs, and I guess that's how most companies do it. But just trying to find a way to. Would there be another way to, I guess, gauge on public interest other than like Kickstarter, for instance? Something that could be like Steam Greenlight to kind of just get like a vote going on, or some kind of like approval or disapproval. I think that just that concept as like a third-party application somewhere, and not have it directly linked to Steam, might help, because I do agree Steam Greenlight, there's some really strange things on Steam Greenlight. It's sometimes I've even seen like just really strange dating sims, and like it's really disgusting. Like, it's, I don't know. I would like to see, like, I can kind of see where Steam's trying to get, because it's like you know, you as the gamer get to decide what kind of things you want there, and I like their attempt at trying, but it's like at the same time, it's because the way I've looked at it is that the one thing that differentiates Steam from, say, like Origin or Uplay or any other DRM guys, or basically they don't have kind of like indie support, well, directly anyways, because, you know, Uplay and Origin, those guys are just providing for whatever the main studios are building up, whereas in say for instance Steam, now that Steam Greenlight exists, you know, it was an easier way for indie games just to enter the Steam library, and yes, it was a really quick and dirty way of doing it, but it was nevertheless a way for indie games to kind of move into the market. Now I know Xbox Live and the PlayStation Store, they only recently started doing indie development, but I don't know how easy that necessarily is to get in there or to get it approved. And I felt like Greenlight was a good first step to get into that. But yeah, I do see what you're saying in the sense that a lot of trash does end up at Greenlight. But yeah, it's.
So let me try and figure out what you're saying here. Are you trying to say that Steam Greenlight is a good way for people to gauge interest?
a bit of both. So Greenlight is a good way to gauge interest, and it provides in a wider range of indie titles, but at the same time, it's not necessarily quality.
So in terms of the interest comment that you made, I think
Right.
that's a kind of cheating a little bit, because when you get into things like game development and stuff like that, that's where market research comes in.
Right.
That's also, I feel like Steam Greenlight is this is another one of the reasons why Steam Greenlight just kind of got so shitty. Whenever you enter like startup competitions or something like that, they always tell you you can only enter one idea, because if you could shoot every single idea you had at the wall,
Yeah.
there's no reason why you wouldn't. And especially with Steam Greenlight, with like a stupid picture and like an 8-bit image, you can now put your product up on Steam Greenlight. It costs like $100 or something, but for somebody who just is throwing shit at the wall, that's not that expensive. And I feel like that idea in of itself is what's causing it to be so flooded. If you don't have this just gets into like that difficulty curve that me and Andrew were talking about. If something is hard to do, it means that when you do it, you're going to do it right. Right? So you're going to have these developers that instead of shooting like 6 things at the wall, they're going to honestly think about which one's the best. They're going to talk to their friends. They're going to talk to their friends' friends. They're going to do the research themselves, and then they're going to make a decision. And if they're still uneasy about it, then like don't quit your day job. Work on your game on the side, and once it's finished, like then work. I feel like Steam Greenlight was a good idea. It was a poor implementation of a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there has to be a difficulty in this area,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't have difficulty in this area, just we get Steam Greenlight.
Yeah, like, yeah, I would like to see, like, if you want sort of the promotion of idea, I don't know how it would work exactly, but like I would prefer to see something that's not like product based, but like literally like idea based. Like, I don't know, if Steam Greenlight was instead like a place where companies could put out surveys and people could, like, I know all of my stats knowledge is like that's not a good survey. It's terrible sampling and blah blah blah. But like even if it was just like what kind of ideas, like, do you care about playing as a female character, or what kind of genres do you enjoy? Do you like it when we mix genres? What is your attention span? Like, I would prefer like ideas in the sense of ideas, not ideas in the sense of hopefully we can make like this into a product. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just don't. Yeah, Greenlight just doesn't make sense to me. It never did, to be honest.
I feel like Steam would be much like. Again, I'm going to talk about my app and the experience that I've had creating it. The topics, they mesh really well together. So when I was figuring out how to release this, how to market it, how to get all that stuff done, I went to startup offices and I talked to business owners who had done this before, and I asked them like, hey, how did you do this? Like, what's the best way to do this? Can you look over my business plan? Can you look at this stuff? And they'll do it. Like, nobody except the biggest asshole on planet Earth is going to say no to you when they literally did that thing like 6 months ago and they were asking everybody these same questions. Right? Like, the information's out there. The people are out there to help you with this kind of stuff. I feel like that kind of help is 10 times more valuable. Right? Because if you getting a bunch of people on their computers to click like does not tell you anything about your game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just tells you that yes, you have a good idea. Like, your idea is something that people might want to play. The other thing too is that, I mean, I used to do a lot of Steam Greenlight like liking and clicking. I can't tell you that I bought any of those games because I look at the text and go, yeah, that's cool, and then I never buy it because I just don't like the value isn't put there yet. Like, if you say, oh yeah, this game's going to cost $20, and now I actually have to buy it. Like that's when I go, I don't know anymore, right? I don't know. I feel like there's just so many. If Steam were to set up some sort of system so that you could actually talk with game developers, talk with other indie developers who have released things, but there's already tons of places to go and do this. Like, if you go to PAX, if you go to E3, I mean, I'm sure those people are very busy at this point, but you can at least you can meet them, you can figure out things. Like that's how to do your research if you're developing a game, not getting likes on some random, well, not random on Steam.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess if you manage to get like a large group of people just to kind of agree with your idea, and it's just like, oh, that sounds kind of cool or something. I think if they all generally say yes, then I think you're onto something. Because I guess you're, like you said, like it's important to talk to other people, talk to developers, trying to get your ideas out and just try to see what can be done from there. So if you were in Valve's position right now, they're kind of on the verge of releasing Steam machines with Steam OS, and I'm sure Valve's planning on redoing the Steam client. How would you handle this? How would you go about, say, for instance, would you basically re-release Greenlight as something else? Would you just get rid of it just altogether? What would you do if you're in Steam's position right now?
Nuke it.
Yeah, if they want to come out with it, they'd at least have to rename it.
Yeah, I think this was them, maybe at the time, trying to future-proof. We talked about people throwing ideas at the wall. This might be them just be like, this might be a good way to increase revenue somehow, blah, blah, blah. And now they're realizing that it's not. They've given it a while, and it's not.
Yeah, Greenlight's been out.
Performing the way that they thought. But I would nuke it. Like I don't. The perfect example is the public really doesn't know what they want, and like Evan, like you two mentioned, having like a bunch of like strangers on the internet tell you have a good idea might not be the best way to gauge your product.
Yep. I think like actually releasing a trailer, like looking at how many people like. I feel like a better way an even better way of gauging your content is like release a YouTube video, send that YouTube link every single place on the internet, and then read the comments. Right? Like that is a better system. Because you're going to YouTube is a place where people, they're dicks. They are assholes. They're going to point out everything wrong with your game they possibly can. Right? And
call you a racist.
Yes, it's true. It's true. But I mean, like, I feel like that is, because that's also, as shitty as the YouTube commenting system is, it generates conversation. And that is what you want. You want conversation about your product. That is invaluable information.
Actually, not a bad idea. I think you're onto something here, Evan.
Well, it's also a lot harder to do than you would think. Just like but I mean, it's still like that's the kind of stuff you want.
Yeah.
Because who knows? Like, if your video blows up and you have millions of people talking about it and you've got 100,000 views on YouTube, then if you go to Steam and show them that, they're gonna be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Right? Like, that's huge.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I just think that it's in general though. Even though you can try. I think I felt like Greenlight was well, it was before in many ways. Like you were expected to fulfill a queue, and then from that queue they would kind of derive an answer from that. And I don't know what happened to that. It just kind of like died down. And I think with that, it was kind of easier to like just kind of be there at the front page for the game. But yeah, now that I'm so mixed on this idea. Like it's like it's good, but it's also bad. It's ugh.
I think in essence it's a good idea. It was just really poorly implemented.
I'm all for like the people choosing what happens and what's going on, but like in terms of they're not even builds, like just like pre-concept art of video games isn't a good indicator. And also, like, to be honest, at the end of the day, people do know what a good game is. They will, like, not necessarily, like, not every good game sells millions of copies, but, like, nothing, none of, like, the things that sell marginally well are terrible. Like, if you have a good game, that's really the most important thing. It's not Greenlight, or it's not. And I think it is getting easier and easier for indie devs. Like you said, like PlayStation and Xbox especially are starting to be like, we need to have an open ecosystem towards this. And I think Steam, like the PC market, has always been the place where you get like funky indie games. Like companies are paying attention to these things. They're not like this. We don't live in 2008 where only like AAA titles are coming out. Or things made by big publishers. Like, you can be two dudes in a basement just working on the thing on the side, and then blow up, and then quit your jobs and to make games full time. Like, there's people. It's possible for people to do that now.
Yep.
If your game is good.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I'm just shocked that like there's the game. Do you guys know how No Man's Sky started? I'm out of curious if you guys know anything about that.
I think I remember.
Because I remember like the first time I heard about it was when Sony debuted it, and they're literally, like you said, like 2 or 3 guys in the basement. Because I am absolutely, yes, the game is great, and yes, I'm all for it. It's just I'm just utterly confused how they managed to convince Sony to be like, take us to all of your conferences and show us off. We're gonna help you sell your console.
I think that's more so Sony figuring out, like that
for the first time. Yeah, they're like, we'll make smart decisions, guys.
Yeah, that E3. I think that might be one of my favorite E3 moments ever. Is when the No Man's Sky developer came out and showed his game. Not because the game is awesome. The game is awesome. But
we hope.
Yeah. It was more so just because you got to see the developer's reaction to everybody loving his game. Like, he was so happy. And you could tell he cared a lot. And I feel like it's just Sony realizing that is 10,000 times more powerful than a CEO talking about numbers.
Yeah. I think
is what Nintendo and Microsoft do a lot.
To get into the minutia of like the Sony, like, as a company, I think it had a lot to do with Kaz Hirai. He was a huge part of like the PlayStation branch, and I'm pretty sure now he's like the president of Sony in the headquarters in Japan, and he was like trying to restructure like the whole company and streamline it. And because he came from PlayStation, he knew what a big revenue stream that was. And that was the year when they're like, all right, none of this Wonder Book, like PlayStation Move stuff. We're here for gamers, for the gamers. And they made a big push for indies, and now Xbox is following suit. Like, it's getting easier and easier to get published on their marketplace.
Yep. And I think another thing that people forget about game development and stuff as well, even app development, any kind of development, everybody wants to go for their big thing first. Like, you have some crazy idea about like some open world huge game that's going to revolutionize action RPGs and have online battle, whatever the fuck, right? Even No Man's Sky, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now. No Man's Sky is kind of like the buzzword indie game going around right now. But if you look at the developers, Sean Murray is the co-founder of Hello Games, who did Joe Danger and Joe Danger 2 and some other stuff. They also have a former developer at Criterion Games. So, like, this is not like a bunch of people in their basement just making something their first shot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is kind of like a brainchild of a bunch of people who had worked on other games and went, okay, now
I actually did not realize that.
Like, now we want to do something big. Right? So if you're in your basement, you're in university right now, and you want to make games, make stupid little iPhone and Android games. Like, make Flappy Bird. Make stuff that will get your name out there. And then once your name's out there and you go to a company, be like, okay, I want to revolutionize this now. They might say yes instead of get out of here, you stupid kid.
Yeah, I think it's funny coming from me because I have no success or talent whatsoever. But just like watching people on like lately, watching like people on YouTube or like people on Twitch, people that are successful. Even the developers of Velocity 2X, which is like one of my favorite games from last year. Like hearing their stories, it's awesome to hear how much success they have. But it's also like incredibly respectful just how long they've been doing it. Like they didn't like, yeah, when I said like in your basement, I think that was poorly chosen words, but they've been doing it for so long. They started in the basement and now they're here. Yeah. Because they've been doing it for years. Yeah. And I think like Evan said, hard work ultimately is the most important factor.
And the other thing too is if you want to get into this stuff, you're going to fail. I'm sorry.
I like how we're giving advice now.
It's true though. Like you're going to fail. You're going to fuck up. Your first game's probably going to be shit. Doesn't matter. Make more games. You're going to learn a lot. Make more.
Yeah.
And I feel like kind of just to bring it back all the Steam Greenlight things, and that's where I think Steam Greenlight ultimately missed this because they're not letting developers go through these hurdles. Right, letting a developer skip these hurdles it's good for it's on paper it's good because they don't have to fail. They can just like go straight from being nothing to something. It's like no, but then you're gonna get a situation like if you guys remember Towns at all, like you're gonna get shitty games coming out. You're gonna get games that from an inexperienced team that doesn't know what they're doing, and they're gonna release something that's just kind of broken. Right, and that's what happened.
Wait, was Towns that like grid village game?
Yeah,
I think I remember that game.
I remember hearing about it.
That game went through all of the avenues. It went through Kickstarter, Steam Greenlight, and it still failed because it was just an inexperienced team that didn't know what they were doing.
A wise person once said, "What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger."
Yeah,
Kelly Clarkson.
Fuck.
I think she's.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we kind of stressed this point, though.
I think the point that you brought up being experienced in the field, I think that's a good point that you raised. It's something that I actually didn't really think about.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's because it's true though. Like if you don't have the experience for it, it's gonna suck. It's going to fail. And I actually now am more inclined to see Steam Greenlight kind of go from the chopping board because
I'm also like, if there's any developers listening, I hope your game does well. I do, but I'm just saying, if it's your first time, the odds are very against you. just saying.
It's tough.
Yeah. It's tough. It's definitely difficult to gauge interest on just in general because at this point there's so much information being poured out that it's just overwhelming to kind of filter in between things, and it's hard because when people have experience and they have the connections and they know people, it's a lot easier for them to hurdle those loops.
Yep. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Does anybody else want to say anything on the topic?
Next week, we'll give advice on how to make it in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Hollywood, and then we're gonna go on to how to make it in Tokyo. Why not? Why not?
And I after all this talk, you actually make me feel very inspired to go build them a game myself. There's been so many engines going free lately. It's just like I'm gonna go try all this now.
Yeah, especially with like Unity. Unity is a thing that exists. It's so easy. It's so easy. If you have any sort of programming experience, even if you don't have programming experience, I honestly think you could pick it up in like a month. There's so many resources to learn, and it's not really game design, like game programming, sorry. There's just so much out there.
Okay.
I mean, I know we say this, like, every year this is going to become more and more correct, but like it's never been easier to get into this kind of stuff. And that's just going to get better next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that.
So right? Yeah, if you want to make it big, start now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like our episode is pretty short this week. So trying to talk about Xenoverse.
Sure, go for it.
It's a games podcast where we don't talk about games that we've played.
Yeah. Because so I picked up Xenoverse, the new Dragon Ball Z game.
Best title ever, by the way. Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse.
Yeah. And it is good.
Okay, now
Okay, so it is awesome. Like that game just gives you a lot of really good fuck yeah moments. Like fighting alongside Goku to kill Frieza after he goes Super Saiyan and stuff as your own like personal character. It just makes 10-year-old Evan jump for joy and like squeal. But I want to point this out to anybody who's going to play this game, like for hardcore reasons and stuff. This is a shitty fighting game. It is a really bad fighting game. It is an amazing action game, like just third-person action game that you just kind of run around and play. I don't know. I can't stop playing it, to be honest. It's got like a lot of RPG elements. You level up your character. You start like you can pick people to be your mentors. So right now I have Hercule as my mentor.
Yeah.
Because why the fuck wouldn't you?
Yo, he beat Cell. He's the hero of Earth.
It's a good game. I just wanted to point out like there's a lot of negative reviews going around on the internet right now about it. And I feel like this is the best Dragon Ball Z game we've gotten since Budokai 3, in my opinion. And the other thing about this game too is I'm incredibly excited for a sequel because I see a lot of building blocks that they put up, and the game's definitely not as polished as it should be, but it has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. Like there's little stupid things like your character, like their punches and kicks are always the same. But if I switch to Goku, he has like this really cool combo that he does when you just like mash X, right? And it's more useful. So I can see like in the future them allowing you to like actually train under people and like gain their attacks and stuff. When you fight with Trunks, he totally uses his sword, right? Like this is the kind of game where I've played it for like 10 hours or so now, and I'm also about halfway through watching Dragon Ball GT again, just because it got me really excited about the Dragon Ball universe.
Why would you be watching that series though?
Because I realized I never finished it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I know it's widely regarded as being poor, but I just realized I never finished it, so I decided to watch it. It's also like only 60 episodes, and I'm not really watching it. Like it's just kind of on.
That's true.
I've actually never been into Dragon Ball.
Wow, it was so cool.
You also never had a childhood.
It was the biggest like people people complain about like thinking back on it, people complain about like Naruto or like One Piece filler arcs, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, there were no filler arcs in like that entire series, but one panel in a comic book was an episode.
Yeah.
Like that's how slowly it went. Oh my god.
It was a filler of just a lot of yelling.
It would literally just be the same frames of him shooting energy blasts and dust piling up, and then he would go back to him, and then the dust pile up, and I ate it up as a kid.
And I remember watching the show every night.
Yeah.
Like every night, 8 o'clock, go home, Dragon Ball Z, and then Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
That's
I also like how we were getting new episodes like in 2001.
Yeah.
Even though like the series ended years ago in Japan, and now thinking about like now it's just so much faster. Oh, but yeah, talking about the game, is the combat like Budokai, where it's like you're in like a big world and it's just two people?
No, that's the other thing about this. It's totally 3-on-3
at the same time.
Yeah, so you can have like 3 human players playing this game against 3 other human players.
Oh wow.
And you're running around like fighting and hitting and punching, And you can even do crazy stuff. Like I figured out when I was doing the Goku versus Frieza fight, I kind of figured out how to fight in that game because Goku, I realized he was always doing a lot of attacks that would knock somebody back. So I would position myself on the other side. So when Goku knocked them back, I would then do a combo and punch them back over to Goku, and then he would do a combo and punch them back over to me. So we were just like ping-ponging Frieza around the map, and it's so cool. The way that the game works is the game is kind of like a behind the it's kind of an over the shoulder type view, but it's pretty far back so you can see your entire character.
Oh.
And you have free movement over a huge area, and then you can lock onto people, and when you lock onto those people, then the camera just faces them all the time, and then after that it's just kind of like an over the shoulder fighting game.
Wow.
But
it's very different.
It's a very silly fighting game because it's just like, yeah, you have light attacks, you have strong attacks, and then to do any of your specials, it's just hold R, and then your 4 buttons become specials instead of like jump, block, light attack, and heavy attack. And then to do your super specials, which is like turn Super Saiyan and stuff, you just hold L and R instead.
So it's not even like fighting game combos.
No.
Like,
well, it still is like you can kind of throw stuff together, like.
But you're not doing like quarterback circles and like.
No. It's not difficult, but it's a lot. It's more so a game about positioning, right? Because you can find out things like, for example, in the Saiyan main combo, there's an attack that pops somebody up in the air, and then you instant transport up to them, and then bash them into the ground. And it's a pretty early combo that you can learn, but you can. If you start, the second you hit them, if you start charging a Kamehameha, you can hit them with the Kamehameha before they hit the ground. Right? So like little things like that, which is not really a combo, but it's just kind of like figuring your way out around the fighting system. And there's definitely like infinite combos you can get people in if you know how to play the game. Yeah. Like I right now I have Big Bang Attack, and I'm using that like mid combo to knock somebody at the back. And then I chase after them because I know that my chase is faster than they fly backwards, and then I can continue the combo on them before they can recover and stuff like that, right?
That's cool.
I'm watching.
So it still definitely has mechanics in it that are like fighting game-esque, but it's if you're looking for like the fighting game style of game where it's like all about decisions and all that kind of stuff, this is not that game.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now, and I haven't seen any kind of indication of a HUD or anything. It looks quite literally like an episode of Dragon Ball.
There's like health and stuff, but that's about it. There's other really crazy things too. Like you totally fight Vegeta when he's in monkey form, and it's like a 5-on-1 fight, and it's fucking great. The game has a really MMO type feel to it because, for example, this is not really a spoiler, but to unlock Super Saiyan. So the whole story is that someone's
I've read about
the timeline. Like someone's fucking with the timeline, so you have to go back in time and fix it. So like to mess with the timeline, like they'll superpower Frieza, so he actually has the power to kill everybody. So then you go back in time to help them out. Like that's how they're kind of making it so that you are in the timeline. But after you always beat things, you get these parallel quests, which are just kind of like what-if stories. So one of them is team up with Frieza and fight the Z Warriors, right? So you and Frieza kill all the Z Warriors, and the last 2 people you fight are Goku and Krillin. If you kill Krillin before you kill Goku, Goku turns into Super Saiyan. And then if you kill Goku while he's Super Saiyan, he has a percentage chance of dropping the Super Saiyan ability that you can now use if you're a Saiyan. So little things like that kind of turn it into an MMO thing where you're just constantly like running different dungeons or like parallel quests, hoping to get the right drops. And if you don't get the right drop, then you just get the experience and stuff, right? And you can definitely like run these things with friends. You can open up lobbies and people can join your game and stuff like that.
Super Saiyan farming.
Yeah, I mean, I only had to do the quest twice to get it, but like, I'm sure there's harder stuff, right? I'm just saying like that's the kind of stuff that you get into, and I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I wish it wasn't a drop percentage. Like, I wish that if I killed Goku while he was Super Saiyan, I got the Super Saiyan ability. And now it was more so just a thing of like, oh, can I do this mission correctly so that the item will drop? But I still think it's cool. It's just fun. It's one of those games that's just fun. And also little things too, like when you log in and you go to like the Time Patrol hub, you see everybody else's Time Patrollers. So you see all the custom generated characters and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Right? So you just see like all of these brand new Dragon Ball Z characters. Some of them are really stupid, but some of them are just hilarious. Like I saw Boo that was dressed up as Hercule, stuff like that. I'm like, this is amazing. Like this is just hilarious.
So it's like a hub world, like a hub world.
Yeah. If there's one thing I could complain about that game, it's whenever you log in, you straight up just go to the hub world, and then you actually have to run around. Like if you want to do 2-player couch combat, like you versus me, I have to log in, run over to the world tournament thing, talk to a guy, and start it. There's not like any menus I can just go like, yeah, local co-op, play, which is kind of lame. But that's the thing. Like this game definitely is not perfect, but it's damn near close. No, it's not even damn near close. What the fuck am I saying? It's just fun. This game is nowhere near perfect. What the fuck am I saying?
So yeah, it sounds like it's just for it's mainly for people who love that series, that franchise.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm not even a big Dragon Ball fan, but this looks kind of fascinating. Just the way the game's like presented and such. I'm actually kind of interested. It might drag me into Dragon Ball.
Might Dragon Ball you in? Is any of like the movie stuff in it, or is it just the main series?
Oh, there's a lot of movie stuff in it. I haven't gotten to it yet, but like the God of Destruction or whatever, Beerus or whatever, he's totally a playable character. You can get him as a mentor if you want. I know Brawly's in it. Yeah, like the movie stuff is definitely in it, and that's the thing though, is that I feel like the second version of this game is literally just going to be this game, but more. Like they're going to have more of the expanded universe. They're going to have more customization. It's going to be a little bit more polished and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
Oh man, and they have Steam trading cards too.
Yeah, they actually sell for like 40 cents as well.
Okay. I guess that just wraps it up. Not much has been happening in the past little while.
But did you not hear what I said? Wonder Woman got pants. Everything has changed. Again, she has pants one time.
Oh yeah, the Star Wars standalone thing. That's interesting.
Don't even talk to me about that. That just ugh.
You sound so upset about that.
No, I'm very excited. It's called Rogue One.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
I'm hoping some involvement of Rogue Squadron.
A little bit, I hope. Man. But when you think about it, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. So does it mean it's about Wedge Antilles or no?
Maybe.
Or is that like, or does he not count? Oh no, he kind of counts inside the movie, so okay.
I would assume that it's a new character.
Well.
That will be anyways. This I can't even get started on this. Otherwise, I'm not going to sleep today.
Yeah.
Get too excited.
Okay, I guess that does it for us then. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Go listen to Carly Rae Jepsen's new song.